This wasn't just the match. This was years of bad blood, public feuds, and private tensions finally boiling over. It started with a brash challenger calling out a living legend, and it ended with a slap heard round the world. So how did we get here? And what happened when these two titans finally met on grappling's biggest stage for the most anticipated super fight in history? This is the story of two kings, one throne, and a rivalry that redefined a generation of jiu-jitsu. This is Gordon Ryan versus Andre Galvao.
I have no doubt that this match, my match against Gordon, it was until now the biggest match in the history of the sport, where everybody would like to see, and now you see like Gordon collecting all the good fruits of his victory, his performance at ADCC. You know, he has such an incredible performance right there, being the first guy to fight in the super fight, but also fighting the whole event at such a young age. And everything that he planned worked in his favor. He was on his day, and I was 40 years old. Try to manage all that with that big fight against someone that's the top grappler in the world nowadays. It was definitely it was a huge challenge. It was the biggest challenge of my life. But I'm very proud of myself that I show up and I went there.
Section 1. The King and the Challenger. To get why this collision was so massive, you have to understand the two men at the center of the storm. They weren't just opponents. They were symbols of clashing eras, philosophies, and paths to greatness. First, you have the legend Andre Galvao. For nearly a decade, Galvao was the undisputed king of the ADCC Superfight, arguably the most prestigious title in no-gi grappling. He was a pillar of the old guard, a multiple-time world champion from Brazil who built his team Atos into a powerhouse. Galvao was tradition, respect, and a hard-earned legacy. He had won the Superfight title in 2013 and successfully defended it 3 times, holding the belt for a dominant 9-year stretch that seemed unbreakable. For all intents and purposes, he was the final boss. And then there was Gordon the King Ryan. If Galvao was the established monarch, Ryan was the revolutionary storming the gates. A prodigy from New Jersey, trained by the enigmatic John Danaher, Ryan didn't just join the jiu-jitsu scene, he hijacked it. He was younger, bigger, and armed with an innovative submission system that felt light years ahead of its time. He wasn't just beating people, he was taking them apart, often calling his shots before the match even began. But it was his personality that truly set him apart. Ryan was loud, arrogant, and unapologetically confident. He used social media like a weapon, picking apart the biggest names in the sport and declaring himself the new king. This abrasive style earned him an army of both critics and fans, but no one could ignore him. Their worlds were always going to collide. The ADCC, often called the Olympics of grappling, has a tradition. The winner of the absolute or open weight division earns a shot at the reigning superfight champion 2 years later. It's a system designed for legendary showdowns, but Ryan versus Galvao felt different. It was more than a match. It was a referendum on jiu-jitsu's future. The stoic champion against the trash-talking challenger. The unstoppable force versus the immovable object. The grappling world was holding its breath. Section 2. The unraveling of respect. The fire between these two wasn't lit overnight. It was a slow burn fueled by years of public callouts. As Ryan's star rose and he collected titles, Galvao remained the last name on his hit list, the one man holding the keys to the kingdom. At first, Galvao was dismissive. From the champion's camp, the message was clear. Prove yourself. Win the ADCC Absolute Division, then we can talk. It was a classic veteran move, forcing the young lion to run the gauntlet. So, that's exactly what Gordon Ryan did. At the 2019 ADCC World Championships, Ryan put on one of the most dominant performances in the tournament's history, winning both his weight class and the Absolute Division. He'd punched his ticket. The super fight was on the clock for 2022, and the 2-year countdown started. But this rivalry wouldn't simmer. It exploded. The next 2 years were a relentless war of words, mostly from Ryan's social media accounts. He mocked Galvao, criticized his team, and questioned if he'd even show up. Galvao, a product of a more traditional era, was reluctant to engage in online battles, but the provocations grew more and more personal. The point of no return came not on the mats, but backstage at a Who's Number One event in February 2021. Following a verbal exchange, Gordon Ryan slapped Andre Galvao across the face. Not once, but twice. The slaps were loud, sharp, and caught on camera. The clip instantly went viral, the slap heard around the world. Dragged the feud from the digital world into the physical, a shocking moment that split the community. To some, Ryan had crossed a line. To others, he had called Galvao's bluff, proving he wasn't just an online troll. Galvao didn't retaliate physically. He later said he regretted his part in the escalation, but chose not to escalate the violence, a decision that fans interpreted in different ways. Some saw it as the discipline of a veteran champion. Others saw it as a psychological win for Ryan, who asserted dominance without facing any real consequences. One thing was for sure, the match was now a grudge match, a legendary champion, a brash challenger, and a feud that got physical. If you're finding this story as fascinating as we do, hit that subscribe button. Section 3. The Collision at ADCC. September 18th, 2022, Las Vegas, Nevada. The air in the Thomas and Mack Center was electric. After years of trash talk and a viral slap, the moment was here. This was the main event of ADCC 2022, the most anticipated grappling match of all time. The tale of the tape was telling. Ryan was younger, bigger, and stronger, the heavy favorite. Most analysts believed Galvao's only path to victory was to use his wrestling, stay on top, and avoid Ryan's deadly guard at all costs. Ryan's plan, however, was the exact opposite. His coach, John Danaher, famously told him to just go out and offer him the leg. It was an outrageously bold strategy, basically daring the decorated wrestler to step right into the traps of the Danaher Death Squad system. As the match began, you could feel the animosity. Galvao came out aggressively, shoving Ryan and earning an immediate warning from the ref. He then did exactly what everyone expected, hitting a quick double-leg takedown and putting Ryan on his back. For a second, it looked like the Legends game plan was working, but it was all a part of Ryan's plan. From his back, Ryan immediately attacked, tangling Galvao's legs and hunting for submissions. After a scramble, Ryan initiated a sweep and in a crucial turning point, reversed the position. He was on top. That was the beginning of the end. What came next was a masterclass in suffocating top pressure. Ryan didn't just hold Galvao down, he dismantled him. He methodically passed Galvao's famously tough guard, using heavy chest pressure to flatten him out. When Galvao turned to his stomach to avoid giving up points for the mount, Ryan saw his chance. He seamlessly took Galvao's back and locked in a body triangle. For the champion, it was the worst place to be. With Ryan glued to his back, crushing him with the body triangle, it was only a matter of time. After minutes of relentless pressure, Ryan sunk his arm under Galvao's chin, locked in the rear naked choke, and squeezed. Galvao had no choice but to tap. The reign was over. The torch had been passed. The drama, the personalities, and the high-stakes climax brought a huge amount of mainstream attention to jiu-jitsu, proving that a good story can elevate the entire sport. Ryan's victory kicked off a new era, solidifying his legacy as the king. For Andre Galvao, the loss did little to tarnish his incredible career. His willingness to face the most dangerous challenger of a new generation, even as an underdog, only added to his legacy as a true warrior and a monumental figure in the history of grappling. Their feud was a perfect storm of personality, skill, and stakes, a clash that defined an era and will be remembered as long as people grapple. The torch was passed that night, but the debate still rages on. Who do you consider the true GOAT of no-gi grappling? Was it Galvao in his prime, or is it the dominant king, Gordon Ryan? Let us know what you think in the comments. And for more deep dives into the world of combat sports, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a breakdown.